Joining us now on the line is Coulter, author of the best-selling book, In Trump We Trust. And we're going to talk about the Caravan reaching the U.S. border. But first, I have to ask you, were your ears burning on Saturday night?
No, why?
You didn't hear? You don't know this? Listen to this. This is that comedian, that reputed comedian, Michelle Wolf. Listen.
And I'm never really sure what to call Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You know, is it Sarah Sanders? Is it Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is it Cousin Huckabee? Is it Auntie Huckabee Sanders? Like, what's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women? Oh, I know, Aunt Coulter.
Aunt Coulter. You're an Uncle Tom for white women, according to that famed comic, Michelle Wolf.
Yes, the famed comic. She probably had to look up the other names. These Hollywood types or comedian types, they're not obsessively following the news, and I am the one conservative they know. I've been holed up like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, writing my next book. I don't know why I was really relevant there.
Well, there you go, Ann. So, listen, what do you make of this show that's going on down on the border with all the migrants, many of them women and children, waiting? They don't demand instant citizenship. They're fleeing gang violence in their home countries, etc., etc., etc.
And they're all coming in. They have lawyers just on the other side of the border. These, people without borders. It's a political movement. They're telling them what to say. Just step across. Say you're claiming asylum. Say you're worried you'll be killed if you go back. And they get a little box lunch and a bus into the United States under President Trump. It's been a big thing for the left to claim, oh, he's going senile, he's mad, we have to remove him under the 25th Amendment, which I've thought is nonsense, but I'm starting to wonder if he remembers his own inauguration, because Trump is just giving speeches as if he has no idea he's the president, denouncing this caravan that he is doing nothing to stop.
Well, I mean, they're not letting them in. They're saying that the processing center is full, right? I mean,
yeah, that'll last about a week. They're all coming in, Howie, under President Trump, which I was sure he had become president, but it looks like Jeb ! Became president.
No, ! Jeb !
Thank you for the correction.
Spell it correctly. And that first one is upside down, by the way.
Yes. No, it's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster. Look, this isn't what we voted for. It couldn't be clearer. I mean, I keep waiting for him to notice the midterm elections are coming. If nothing else, if he cares about nothing else, just the humiliation of being impeached, you would think he would go back to, popular issues, not the loser issues that are all he's been pushing. I mean, based on history, there's no reason to think he'd lift a finger to do anything about immigration. At least he hasn't for the last 450 days. But he doesn't have much time. It's midterm elections bearing down like a freight train. You might want to go and do something, because I'm telling you, if he shut down the government and just started building the wall, if he took this invasion and treated it as what it is, an act of war, you wouldn't have to worry about a blue wave.
And where do they get the money for these buses? They're all on buses, and some of them are fairly large, if you know what I mean. It's not like they appear to have been denied. They don't appear to have been denied any food in El Salvador or Honduras, wherever they're coming from. And by the way, if these people are going to be such a boon for the economy, why hasn't Mexico tried to keep some of them in Mexico? Why haven't they had recruiters out there?
Contrary to the President Trump tweet a few weeks ago saying, yep, we put pressure on the Mexican government. They're stopping the caravan. Don't worry, everybody. The caravan has been stopped. That isn't what Mexico did at all. They gave them visas. They have 20 and 30-day passes because they figure, well, that's enough time to make it up to the American border. They're being ushered up to the American border. There are huge billboards on the other side of the border, alerting them to the existence of the lawyers groups who are there telling them what they need to say, and what to expect at the checkpoint. We're going to get you all in, and they're also, which if nothing else, you'd think this would get the President Jeb's attention. They're all laughing at him. They're laughing at him, including this guy, 39-year-old illegal who was living in Atlanta. He was deported by Obama, and he's telling the British Daily Mail, "Ha ha, Trump, see you in a few weeks."
Yeah, there's three. I got a text here from 301 area code. The people fleeing gang violence, quote unquote, have brought it to my neighborhood. We now have MS-13, the Mexican mafia, and others. I mean, what about the humanitarian concerns? I just asked this question of the American people. They're talking about this as a humanitarian crisis. How about for the 300 million American citizens who grew up in a fairly law-abiding society, which is now being shredded by gang violence and drugs and welfare dependency?
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. We're sinking the lifeboat. I mean, you can feel sorry for these people growing up in, being born into horrible, corrupt, crime-ridden, gang-controlled, monopolistic, extremely income inequality. I mean, the rich in these countries live, like a, speaking of today, Nigerian prince. But if we bring them all here, there's no place left to flee to. And that's what we're doing. This is what got Trump elected. Did you see that speech in Michigan over the weekend? It's unbelievable, Howie. It's unbelievable. He's talking about bringing in guest workers, I quote, to do your jobs. I quote, guest workers to do your jobs.
What do you want me to say, Ann? The thing is, he can't. Don't you think he would like to build?
He's got to put pedal to the metal on immigration. He's got to throw out everyone working for him. That Mark Short, start with his family members and then get to Mark Short. Kelly and his little friend Kristen Nielsen at Homeland, and just let Stephen Miller start running the country, or this is going to be a blue wave like we haven't seen before.
781, ask Ann about the international asylum laws. Aren't you supposed to seek asylum in an adjacent country, not 2 or 3 countries over where they have a bigger welfare system?
That is correct. But if you step into the country and claim to be a refugee, we can't throw you out. Why don't we change that law? Well, I don't know. Just if only we had a president who wanted to change that law. But he's busy, running off dealing with Nigeria's
but seriously, though, Ann, I mean, how
Nigeria great again?
How do you think?
And ran on making South Korea great again, and ran on making Israel great again, and making China great again, and France great again.
But let's forget,
he'll never get around to making America great again.
I would love to change the asylum law and just say, just because you claim you're fleeing gang violence when you're really fleeing the violence of having to have a job. I mean, I'd love to repeal that law, but how are you going to get that? Forget Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. How are you going to get that one past Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan?
Trump came into office with more power than any president in my lifetime, more than Obama. He had the people behind him. He had the entire, he had Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan against him. He won their states. He had the donors against him. He had Wall Street against him. He had both Fox News and MSNBC against him. And he won. Why? Because he had the American people behind him, and they didn't care about anything. They don't even care about Access Hollywood tape. And now he's just giving it all away. He's giving away his superpower, which he could get back. Look, there's still time before the midterm elections, but like I say, based on history, I don't see him waking up and noticing that he has this tremendous power, and maybe he should stop listening to these morons in the White House and the donors, guest workers.
802, ask Ann if she would rather have Hillary.
Okay, yeah, I said about a month into Trump's presidency, campaign slogan idea for 2020, I'm still not Hillary Clinton. If that's all you have to cling to, do I care if it's Mike Pence? Why, no, I don't.
Do you think Mike Pence would be tougher on a wall? Mike Pence would still have to. He would still have to deal with
toughness.
Yeah, he would still have to deal with he would still have to deal with the Republicans in Congress who are controlled by Donahue in the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, we've had 450 days. Trump has not lifted one finger on immigration. Would Pence be worse than that? Not possible. Therefore, at this point, the only thing we're getting out of the Trump presidency is the judges. Trump doesn't know a judge from a dog catcher. He's getting his recommendations from the Federalist Society, and so will Mike Pence. No, the only danger, if and this is, I'm only talking assuming that nothing changes in the next, 80 days or however many until the midterm election. I'm very bad at math, whatever it is. I guess it's more like 110, but whatever. If there's no change, that's what I'm talking about. I do still think there's time for him to come back. And look, we've reeled him back before. You remember, he wasn't president then, and he'd come back to us more often, but he'd go off the reservation during the campaign, too. I don't think it's helping to keep saying, it's 3D chess. No matter what he does, we had to swat him down and bring him back, but he had such uncanny instincts for what was popular and what he should do, and concentrate on America being great. If he does that between now and Election Day, if he stages a huge fight, if he makes both Republicans and Democrats vote on ending this nonsense refugee law we have, make them vote on a wall. Let's see them face the voters after voting against a wall, after voting that we can have caravans and caravans of the poorest people in Latin America come. Make them vote on it. He's not even making it difficult for the Democrats.
No one is even introducing any legislation, are they, to do away or to change these ridiculous refugee?
I wonder if the president could have any effect on that. Did anybody introduce, Ronald Reagan's tax bill?
Well, I'm sure somebody. Somebody did, didn't they? Who's pushing
he came in and pushed for it, and it was the same thing with Obama and healthcare. He said, "I want a healthcare bill." He had people in his White House working on it. He said, "This is what I'm going to do." The president normally, it's hard to remember what life was like before this utter madness, where the president says one thing and doesn't seem to realize he's the president, and does a complete 180 on every promise he made during the campaign. The president usually drives the agenda. Here, he's just, I'll let Paul Ryan do it, because he's been so successful.
Paul Ryan didn't, I wonder if Paul Ryan even voted for him, honestly.
I know. Well, but, McCain vowed that he wasn't.
Yeah, I know. And Coulter, you want to promote your book, your current book?
Yes, anyone who wants to run for president and win and actually keep his promises will go down as the greatest president in history and will be on Mount Rushmore if he follows the advice, the model, the prototype I describe in Trump we trust, e pluribus awesome.
All right. Thank you, Ann Coulter. Talk to you next week. I'm Howie.